Good morning, and welcome to our program, Community Focus. Today we are discussing an important question for schools and families. Should community service be a required activity for all students? This means asking if students must do volunteer work to graduate or pass a grade. With us today are two people with different views. Mr. David Evans, a high school teacher, believes mandatory service is beneficial, and Maria Garcia, a student, thinks it should remain a choice. We will start with opening statements, followed by discussion, and then closing remarks. Mr. Evans, please begin.
Thank you, Sarah. Good morning, everyone. Yes, I strongly believe that community service should be required for all students. It's not just about filling time. It's about education in the real world. Requiring service helps students learn very important life skills that are hard to teach in a classroom alone. For example, they learn how to work together in teams with different kinds of people. They learn responsibility because others depend on them to show up and do their part. Also, community service connects students directly to their local community. They see the needs around them, perhaps helping at a food bank, cleaning a park, or visiting elderly people. This helps them understand society better and see how they can make a positive difference. It builds empathy. When students help others, they start to understand different life situations and feel more compassion. This makes them better, more caring citizens for the future. Finally, this experience can be very useful for their future. It can help them decide on a career path or provide good experience to put on college applications or job resumes. They might discover a passion or talent they didn't know they had. So, making it required ensures that all students get these benefits, not just the ones who would volunteer anyway. It is an investment in their development and in our community.
Thank you, Mr. Evans, for explaining the benefits you see. Now we will hear the opposing view. Maria Garcia, please share your opening statement.
Thank you, Sarah. Good morning. I understand Mr. Evans' points about learning skills and helping the community, but I don't think making community service mandatory is the right way. My main reason is that students are already under a lot of pressure. We have hours of homework every night. We need to study for difficult exams, and many students participate in sports, music, or other clubs after school. Adding a requirement for community service on top of all this can cause too much stress. Where will students find the time? It feels like there are not enough hours in the day already. This extra requirement could take away valuable time needed for studying, which could affect our grades. For some students, it's even more difficult. They might need to work part-time jobs after school to help their families or save for college. If they are forced to do unpaid service, they might lose income they really need. Also, I believe that volunteering should come from the heart. It should be a personal choice. When you force someone to volunteer, it changes the meaning. It becomes just another task, another requirement to check off a list. Students might resent it. They might not do a good job if they don't want to be there. This could actually create a negative feeling about helping others, which is the opposite of what volunteering should achieve. So while community service is a good thing, making it mandatory creates too many problems for students who are already very busy and takes away the true spirit of volunteering.
Thank you, Maria, for outlining those concerns. We have heard strong arguments from both sides. Now let's move into our discussion. Mr. Evans, Maria raised a very important point about students' stress and lack of time. Students have homework, exams, activities, sometimes jobs. How can schools realistically add mandatory community service without making students feel overwhelmed or taking time from necessary activities like studying or part-time work?
That is a valid concern, Sarah, and one that schools absolutely need to consider carefully. It's not about just adding more hours of work without thinking. It needs to be managed well. One way is to integrate service opportunities into the school structure itself. Perhaps dedicate certain school days or specific hours during the week. Another approach is flexibility. Schools could offer a wide variety of service options with different time commitments. Students could choose activities that fit their interests and schedules, maybe completing hours over weekends or during school breaks. The requirement doesn't have to be hundreds of hours. It could be a manageable number, perhaps 20 or 30 hours per year. I had a student last year who was very shy. Through required service at an animal shelter, she discovered she was great at caring for animals and communicating with visitors. She gained confidence and found a possible career interest. This happened because the program required her to step outside her comfort zone. We need to see it as part of their education, not just an extra task. The benefits, empathy, civic understanding, personal growth, are worth finding creative ways to make it work without causing too much stress. Perhaps schools could even offer academic credit for service learning projects that combine service with classroom studies.
Thank you, Mr. Evans. Maria, Mr. Evans suggests integrating service, offering flexibility, and seeing it as a valuable part of education, not just an extra burden. How do you respond to those ideas? Does that address your concerns about time and stress?
Integrating it sounds nice, but it still takes time away from something else. If service happens during school hours, does it replace an academic class like math or history? Or does it mean longer school days? If it replaces class time, I worry students might fall behind in core subjects needed for college or future jobs. Flexibility is good, but even flexible hours add up. 20 or 30 hours might not sound like much, but for a student working 15 hours a week and taking difficult classes, it's another significant commitment. And what about the quality? If students are just trying to complete hours quickly, will they really engage with the service or learn empathy? Mr. Evans mentioned a student who benefited, and that's great for her. But will every student benefit? What if a student is forced into an activity they strongly dislike or feel uncomfortable doing? Will that build character or just resentment? I think schools should focus on providing a strong academic education first. Encouraging service is wonderful, but requiring it adds pressure and might not achieve the positive goals Mr. Evans hopes for in every case. Maybe the focus should be on making sure students have the basic knowledge and skills they need when they graduate.
Interesting points, Maria, about the potential impact on academics and whether the benefits are universal. Let's move to another key area you both mentioned, the nature of volunteering itself. Maria, you argued that forced volunteering isn't real volunteering and might create negative feelings. But Mr. Evans highlighted a student who benefited despite it being required. Could it be that even if students don't choose it initially, the experience itself could still teach them something positive and maybe even change their minds about service?
It's possible, Sarah, that some students might have a positive experience, even if they start reluctantly. Humans can adapt and find good in situations. However, I still believe it's fundamentally wrong to force this kind of activity. The principle of volunteering is that it is freely given. Taking away that choice changes the entire dynamic. Think about it. If a student has a genuinely bad experience, maybe they feel unsupported, or the work is unpleasant, or they feel it's meaningless, and they were forced to be there, that negative feeling could stick. It might make them less likely to volunteer willingly in the future, as adults, because they associate service with a negative, mandatory school task. There are other ways schools can help students develop empathy and learn about community needs without forcing service. We can have projects in social studies classes where we research local issues. We can invite guest speakers from charities or community organizations to share their work. Schools can support student-led clubs focused on service, providing resources and encouragement for those who choose to participate. These methods respect student autonomy and can still achieve many of the same educational goals, perhaps even more effectively, because the engagement is genuine.
Thank you, Maria. You suggest alternatives that encourage rather than require. Mr. Evans, Maria worries that forcing service could backfire, creating negative associations, and suggests alternatives like class projects or guest speakers. How do you respond to the idea that compulsion might harm the spirit of volunteering and that other methods could be as effective?
I understand the concern about potential negative experiences, but I believe that's an argument for well-structured programs, not against the requirement itself. A good mandatory service program wouldn't just tell students to find hours anywhere. It would partner with reputable organizations, provide clear guidelines, offer support and supervision, and include reflection activities. Reflection is key, helping students think about what they did, what they learned, and how it connects to their lives and studies. This helps ensure it's a learning experience, not just labor. While guest speakers and class projects are valuable, they don't provide the same direct, hands-on experience of contributing and interacting with the community. There is a difference between learning about poverty and spending time helping at a homeless shelter, or reading about environmental issues versus actually cleaning up a riverbank. Mandatory service ensures all students get this exposure. It takes them out of their usual social circles and exposes them to different realities and perspectives they might never encounter otherwise. This broadens their understanding of the world in a very practical way. Furthermore, it teaches an important lesson about civic responsibility, the idea that we all have a part to play in the well-being of our community. Making it a requirement signals that this contribution is a normal and expected part of being an educated citizen, just like learning history or science. It's about the common good.
Thank you both for that thoughtful discussion on the nature of volunteering and alternative approaches. We are nearing the end of our time. I'd like to give each of you a chance to summarize your position in a closing statement. Mr. Evans, please provide your closing remarks.
Thank you, Sarah. To summarize my position, I strongly support making community service a requirement for all students. My main reasons are the powerful educational benefits it offers. Required service teaches essential life skills like teamwork, responsibility, and problem-solving in real-world settings. It builds character, fostering empathy and compassion by connecting students directly with the needs in their communities. This connection helps them become more informed, engaged, and caring citizens, strengthening the fabric of our society. It also provides valuable experiences that can guide future career choices and enhance college or job applications. Now, I acknowledge the concerns raised about student time and the importance of choice. However, I believe these challenges can be managed through thoughtful program design, flexibility, integration with curriculum, clear support, and reasonable hour requirements. The significant, long-lasting benefits for student development and community well-being outweigh these manageable difficulties. Requiring service sends a clear message that contributing to the common good is a vital part of education and citizenship. It helps prepare young people not just for jobs, but for lives of purpose and active participation in society. It helps them grow into responsible, engaged adults who understand their role in making the world a better place.
Thank you, Mr. Evans. Maria Garcia, you now have the floor for your closing statement.
Thank you, Sarah. In conclusion, while I agree that community service can be a very positive activity, I stand by my position that it should not be mandatory for students. My main arguments focus on the practical burdens and the principle of choice. Students today are incredibly busy with academic demands, extracurricular activities, and sometimes part-time jobs. Adding a mandatory service requirement increases stress and takes away time needed for studies or essential work. We must be realistic about the pressure students face and avoid adding another compulsory task to their already full plates. Furthermore, the essence of volunteering lies in choosing to help. Making it mandatory removes that personal motivation. It risks turning a potentially meaningful experience into just another school assignment, possibly creating resentment and discouraging future, genuine volunteering. A negative forced experience could do more harm than good to a student's view of community involvement. I appreciate Mr. Evans' points about potential benefits, but I believe these are best achieved when students participate willingly. Schools should absolutely encourage service. They can promote opportunities, support student initiatives, and integrate discussions about community needs into the curriculum. But the final decision to participate should rest with the individual student and their family. Let's foster a spirit of service through encouragement and support, not through compulsion. Students should have the freedom to choose how and when they contribute to their communities.
Thank you, Maria Garcia, and thank you, Mr. David Evans, for sharing your perspectives and arguments today. We've heard compelling points on both sides of this issue. Mr. Evans emphasized the educational benefits, skill development, empathy, and civic responsibility that required service could foster for all students. Maria Garcia highlighted concerns about student stress, time constraints, the importance of choice in true volunteering, and the potential for negative experiences if service is forced. It is clear there is much to consider when deciding whether community service should be a mandatory part of education. We hope this discussion has given our viewers valuable insights into this important topic. Thank you for watching Community Focus. Good morning.